Manx Radio's Update with Christian Jones.
Five o'clock on Friday the 6th of February. Thanks to Chris Quirk for the past couple of hours. I'm Christian Jones and welcome along to Update. 30 minutes of all the latest news, sport and travel compiled from the resources of Manx Radio's newsroom. On the way tonight, the British Medical Association says less than a quarter of doctors would recommend Manx Care as a place to work. It's described that as a damning indictment. We'll head down to Peel to find out more about the Mars sculpture on display this weekend, and we'll be catching up with Adam Wakeman off the back of his win at the Grammys. All those stories and more on the way. As always, drop me a message if you want to say hello. Text WhatsApp to 166 177, email to studio@manxradio.com. But first, let's get the latest news headlines read by Darren Timpson. First am I, Darren?
First am I. The Mountain Road is staying closed overnight. The Department of Infrastructure had hoped to reopen the route today, but it says some areas remain extremely slippery due to snow. The closure order between the Cregnabar and Ramsey hairpin has been extended until 10 a.m. tomorrow. The Infrastructure Minister says the business case for reinstating the Douglas Bay Horse Tramway along the full length of the promenade is under final review. Tim Crookall says the case has been decoupled from that of Tramway Terrace redevelopment project in order to bring it being delayed unnecessarily. And an Onken man believes he may have the remains of Archibald Knox's cat.
It's been in a box. It's a sort of a protection box. If someone at the Archibald Knox Foundation or the museum or whoever thinks they could make it on show for someone, they're quite welcome to have it.
Albert Mills has preserved the feline, which he found at what he believes was once the former artist's home. To international news, the Met Police is searching two properties in London and Wiltshire linked to Peter Mandelson. He's accused of leaking market-sensitive data to paedophile Jeffrey Epstein when he was business secretary. A man who drugged his wife so she wouldn't wake up while he poisoned and abused children has been sentenced to nearly 24 years behind bars. 76-year-old John Rubin admitted sexually assaulting two boys at a summer camp in Leicestershire last July and cruelty towards 6 other victims. And Pep Guardiola says he won't stay quiet on humanitarian issues even after being told to stick to football.
Why cannot express what I feel just because I'm a manager? So what I said basically is how many conflicts there are right now all around the globe. Condemn all of them. All of them. Innocent people is killed. I condemn all of them.
The Manchester City boss spoke passionately this week about killings in Minneapolis, the deaths of Palestinian children in Gaza and the conflict in Sudan. Those are the headlines. News next at 6.
Darren Gurmaid, thank you very much. Let's take a look at the weather now, brought to you by Manx Glass and Glazing. Remaining cloudy with further outbreaks of rain this evening and much of the night, before clearing by the end of the night. Fresh to strong easterly winds, easing to become moderate to fresh by the end of the night, and a minimum temperature of around 5 degrees Celsius.
Manx Glass and Glazing can supply and install single, double and triple glazing. Call 674 573 or visit the showroom on the Snugborough Trading Estate. You're listening to the Isle of Man's quintessential daily news and current affairs roundup. Update on Manx Radio.
3 minutes past 5, a union representing medics says less than a quarter of doctors at Manx Care would recommend the island's healthcare provider as a place to work. It comes following the British Medical Association's annual survey of its members about the health service they work for and the standards of care it provides. With more on this, here's Sean Cowper.
The BMA's Culture of Care Barometer survey questions medics about a number of aspects of their jobs. It described the findings that less than a quarter of doctors would recommend the organisation as a place to work as a damning indictment of Manx Care. In a statement about the results of the questionnaire, the union says over 60% of those who replied disagreed or strongly disagreed that Manx Care listened to staff views. While members agreed that they're respected by their co-workers and immediate managers, only 13% said they see good evidence of leadership at senior levels. Chair of the Isle of Man Medical Society, Dr Prakash Tyagarajan, said once again we're seeing survey results that tell us very little is improving in Manx Care. People on the Isle of Man, he said, should not be cared for by doctors who are demoralised, and we should not have a health service staffed by doctors who don't believe they're valued by senior leaders at Manx Care. The BMA's Chair of Council, Dr Tom Dolphin, has been visiting the island today, meeting with government ministers as well as doctors from Manx Care. In response to the survey, Manx Care says it has not yet had time to fully digest the BMA's Culture of Care Barometer survey data, but initial analysis suggests colleagues are experiencing significant improvements across each of the survey's key themes. In fact, 27 out of 30 responses show year-on-year improvement. It goes on to say some of the responses seem to indicate legacy negative feelings around the creation of Manx Care as the island's national health and care services provider. Nonetheless, survey participants do indicate improvements in engagement, empowerment, leadership and resources. You can read more from the BMA and Manx Care on the Manx Radio website.
Sean Cowper there with that report. Now, new figures from the Isle of Man Information Commissioner show a big jump in the number of people affected by data breaches on the island. Lewis Foster's here with me. First of all, Lewis, how significant is that rise?
First of all, Christian, it's pretty stark. In the third quarter of the current financial year, an estimated 12,000 people were affected by personal data breaches. That's up sharply from around 2,200 in the previous quarter and 800 at the start of the year.
And I assume that doesn't necessarily mean there were more breaches overall.
No, actually the opposite. The number of reported breaches fell to 39, down from 52 the quarter before. What's changed is the scale. Several cyber incidents, mainly phishing attacks, hit large organisations, so far more people were caught up in single breaches.
And do we know anything about the level of risk involved here?
So around 36% were classed as high risk, which is down slightly, but 28% still carried a risk of identity theft or fraud. Most incidents were reported within the required 72-hour window, which the Commissioner says is encouraging. Just lastly, though, the ICO is stressing preparation, good staff training, strong cyber security and clear communication if something does go wrong, because, as they put it, it's often not a case of if a cyber incident happens, but when.
All right, Lewis, thank you very much for that.
You're listening to the Isle of Man's quintessential daily news and current affairs roundup. Update on Manx Radio.
7 minutes past 5. Now, over the weekend, we saw some unforgettable moments from the 2026 Grammy Awards. Some incredible performances, inspiring speeches and special moments throughout the ceremony. Let's first just hear some of the highlights.
And the Grammy goes to... The Grammy goes to...
The Grammy goes to...
And the Grammy goes to...
Kendrick Lamar! Olivia Dean, Messy, Lola Young,
Bad Bunny,
Wildflower by Billie Eilish,
Beautifully Broken Jelly Roll.
I'm not good at talking about myself, but I express it through the music.
I've been making music since I was a little girl, and every time I'm here, I still feel like I need to pinch myself.
An artist is really nothing without their team. Emily, my best friend, my manager, we've been doing this for 10 years.
Everyone else in this category are so amazing. I love you so much. I feel so honored every time I get to be in this room.
And the Grammy goes to Changes, live from Villa Park, back to the beginning. Come on, Sharon. Come on, rock and roll!
Well, what we just heard there was the Grammy for Best Rock Performance, which went to Youngblood and his band, of which Adam Wakeman played keyboard. He's lived on the Isle of Man previously, performed alongside Ozzy Osbourne, worked with the likes of Annie Lennox, Will Young, Deep Purple, to name but just a few. Well, we have him on the line now. First of all, good evening, Adam. Thanks for taking a moment to have a chat. Just before we begin, whereabouts in the world are you at the moment?
Well, I'm in the exotic realms of just outside Milton Keynes in Buckinghamshire. So not in Los Angeles anymore. But you played that clip, and it did send a little tingle up my spine. It was a pretty special moment.
Yeah, what an unbelievable night. Just talk me through some of the feelings, the emotions that you had when you were called up to claim what is one of music's most prestigious awards.
Well, the whole thing has been a bit surreal, to be honest. I mean, I likened the whole thing. My kids were kind of asking me what it was. You know, they all came with me, and they were wondering what it was all going to be like. And I said, I'm not really 100% sure, because normally I'm playing at events. I'm not going as a kind of a guest and a nominee. So, but afterwards, I kind of likened it to going to a wedding where there's about 500 bride and grooms. That's kind of what it felt like.
Wow. And naturally, Sharon Osbourne was there too. That must have been a very special moment.
It was lovely. I actually saw her about 3 weeks previously, and she told me that she was going to be out in Los Angeles. So I was hoping to get to see her, and it was lovely that she came up on the stage as well. It was a really special moment.
So 1 Grammy nomination thus far, 1 in the bag. That is pretty impressive by anyone's standards. Is that something you ever imagined would happen to you?
No, not at all. I remember looking back, to when I was kind of playing in pub bands around, the Creek in Peel, and when Bushies was there back in Douglas, in bands and playing Paranoid and Iron Man and all these songs. I never dreamed that it would end up, I'd be spending 25 years working with those guys, and then to play at that last concert with, that sort of super group of with Youngblood and Frank Bella, Nuno Betancourt, and Sleep Token 2 on drums. It was an unbelievable moment. I'm still pinching myself now. It's a really special moment.
I won't keep you for much longer, but a week today, your new jazz album drops. What can you tell us about that?
Oh, that's Jazz Sabbath. Yes, that's my jazz trio where I play a kind of theatrical role of a disillusioned 85-year-old jazz pianist who claims he wrote all the songs of Black Sabbath before they did. So it's a live album that comes out, I think it's Friday the 13th, actually, next week.
How long have you been working on that?
That project's probably about 4 or 5 years. We've had a couple of we've done 3 albums, which have all appeared in the Billboard jazz album. So we've top 10 jazz albums. So we've managed to fool enough people that take it seriously. But it's a great band. It's a really good fun project.
Absolutely. Well, Adam, thanks so much for taking a few moments to chat with us, and best of luck with the album release. From my own experience of the music industry, if that's anything to go by, the real work will start once the album's out.
Absolutely. Nice to talk to you, Christian.
That was Adam Wakeman, the 2026 Grammy winner for Best Rock Performance, alongside Youngblood. Well, let's just have a listen to a small excerpt of the performance that won the Grammy.
Wish I could go back and change these years.
Manx Radio Travel, serviced by Quayside Tyres.
Well, let's take a look on the roads to begin with. We've got temporary lights on the main road near Snugborough. That's 24 hours a day in Union Mills. Over in Bratton, temporary lights on Cool Road near the Business Park. Also temporary lights on Bratton Road. That's just up from Bratton Bridge. And also a short stretch of the West Baldwin Road is closed south of Ingerbreck for service crossing installation. Now, in the south of the island, a short stretch of Fort Island Road is closed until the 2nd of March for demolition of the old Golf Links Hotel. And that closure is in place by the old hotel and onto Fort Island. Also something to be aware of, quite a big thing I suppose, the Mountain Road is going to be staying closed overnight. The Department of Infrastructure says while some areas are free of snow, others remain extremely slippery. So the Mountain Road is going to be staying closed overnight and they're going to be reassessing the conditions tomorrow. Elsewhere, the Slewallion Road is closed because of a landslip. That was in the news earlier this week. Let's take a trip down to the steam packet. Everything is looking all good there. There was a slight rotor change, I suppose. So if you are going, it's going to be pushed back a tiny little bit. And over at the airport, everything is looking blue and green on my screen. So everything is looking to time.
Manx Radio Travel, serviced by Quayside Tyres. Call Quayside Tyres on 664417 to book your free vehicles winter check so your vehicle is safe for you and other road users.
Now, we love stories that are a little bit quirky, and it's fair to say this one definitely ticks that box. So let's rewind 20 years. Albert Mills was walking through Nobles Park when he noticed building work taking place on a house. Curiously, he asked whether the property was for sale, only to be told it wasn't. The house was being renovated, and intriguingly, it was said to have once belonged to the renowned artist Archibald Knox. And as Albert explains, he ended up with a rather intriguing souvenir.
It's been in a box, a silver box. I don't know what it's called, but it's a sort of a protection box. I didn't know if there was germs on the cat or anything like that, so I was very careful. A few of my mates have seen it and cowered away from it, and some of them have come along and are fascinated. So I heard on the radio that there was interest in the Archibald Knox meeting or something like that. So I thought, right, I'll ring Manx Radio.
Do you remember around what year?
20 years ago. I'll be able to find out because I was living in a Falcon Cliff Court, which was down by the old prison. And that must be over 20 years ago. It's been preserved because of the heat, which in the middle of the summer is red hot. And obviously the cat has been stuck there for years and years, and I think the heat is... Obviously it's removed. If it did have any hair, there's nothing there on it now. As you can see, it's just a covering of skin.
Now, once this interview airs, I'm sure there will be lots of curiosity. Probably maybe Manx National Heritage or maybe the Archibald Knox Foundation would want to get in touch. Where do you see the future, or what do you see for the future of this cat?
Well, it's like my pet. I don't know if someone, the Archibald Knox Foundation or the museum or whoever thinks they could make it on show for someone, they could quite welcome to have it.
Is there anything else you want to add or say, anything else you want to mention in terms of the cat?
No, but it doesn't cost very much to keep.
No vet bills then?
No, it doesn't need very much at all.
Chanel Zuku there. Now, after last year's giant moon installation, a huge model of Mars is set to be unveiled at the cathedral in Peel this weekend. The artwork has been created by the artist Luke Jerram, and it's the sister piece of the popular exhibition of the moon. You may have seen that last year. More than 18,000 people visited when it came to the island. Well, Mars measures at 6 metres in diameter, goes on display to the public from tomorrow, and Manx Radio's Judith Lay is down at the cathedral at the moment, getting a little sneak peek. First of all, Jude, hope you're doing well. Not too blustery in Peel, I hope. You're in the cathedral. You can see Mars.
Indeed, I can. First of all, Christian. And if you think that if we set off from the Earth now, it would take around about 10 months to get to Mars. And I'm standing here now under the red planet, and I can almost reach out and touch it. And, whilst, as you just said quite correctly, this is another of the artist Luke Jerram's series of touring astronomical artworks. But it would be a mistake to think that it's an artist's impression. This has been made from NASA imagery, and so we can actually see every valley, every crater, volcano and mountain, just as if we were in a satellite going around Mars, that we were mapping Mars, that we were exploring it from a satellite. And, there have been pictures of this. This installation has been in other places. And you see photographs. But I have to say, nothing compares to actually seeing the real thing. It is awesome is the only word that I can use for it. And of course, the red planet, the whole of the cathedral is suffused with this red light. And there's also a soundtrack playing that is a mixture of specially composed atmospheric music and also the voices of astronauts in space. So all of that contributes to a really, really special experience.
Yeah.
And of course...
Sorry, no, just how big is it? You're stood in front of it at the moment. I mean, 6 meters, I can say, is quite large, but I don't think that actually puts it into perspective until you're really there.
No, this is true. I'm absolutely useless at sizes, distances, but I can tell you now that I'm looking at it. And the cathedral, if you've ever seen it, it's a big open space, but it has two side sections that is separated off by pillars, big high arched pillars. And Mars is pretty much the width of those between the two sets of pillars. So it is very, very big. And of course, that gives you a sense of perspective on it. And and we've got two things going on here, really. We've got a pure enjoyment. Just come in, see it, and let it affect you in whatever way you wish. But also, we've got something like 1,300 school children who will be coming in over the next 3 weeks. And they'll be coming in to develop scientific work that they've been doing, preparation that they've been doing at school. And also there's little quizzes and activities for them here when they get here, so that they can explore the scientific side of it and broaden out their horizon in that way.
Just finally, do we know how the model was created and how much time it actually took to build it?
I knew there'd be a question I wouldn't be prepared for. And I'm being completely honest and saying I would guess a long time. It's made from NASA imagery. So Luke Jerram gets the imagery and then he creates it from that. The construction time, I've no idea, but I'm going to give you two numbers that are really important.
Okay.
And that's 9 till 9. That's the opening hours every day. 9 in the morning till 9 at night. Later on, some nights, if we've got special events, there's Kaylee's, there's a concert, there's a dinner, there's all kinds of stuff. Go to Facebook, Mars in Peel on Facebook. You'll find it all there.
Perfect. Jude, thanks so much. I'll let you get back to having a look around. Don't blow away. That was Manx Radio's Judith Lay live from Peel Cathedral. And that model of Mars is on display to the public from tomorrow, 9 till 9, as you heard Jude say, all the way through till the 2nd of March. So you've got just under a month to head over. Take a peek if that sounds up your alley. Now, 13 people have been identified as entering or attempting to enter the Isle of Man without immigration permission over the past year. Those figures relating back to January last year have been published by the Treasury following a recent Freedom of Information request. Lewis Foster reports.
As well as asking how many people had entered or attempted to enter, the requester asked for details such as where their port of departure was, whether their arrival was by scheduled airline, private flight, Isle of Man steam packet or other seacraft, and what was their nationality. Of the 13, 8 travelled or attempted to travel via the steam packet, 6 from Heysham, 2 from Liverpool. The port of departure for the other 5 individuals remains unknown. Between the 13, they are described as Bangladeshi, Chinese, Ghanaian, Indian, Pakistani and Polish. In terms of their status, 4 are classed as asylum seeker, 4 as cancelled visa, 1 as no permission and 4 as overstayer. In terms of the action taken against the individuals, 2 were subjected to enforced removal from the island, 4 were refused entry and the remaining 7 left the island voluntarily. In each circumstance, Treasury says the case was referred to the UK Home Office. The costs associated with one person's case amounts to £22,305.86 and another £7,066.36, based on costs incurred by the Customs and Immigration Division plus the estimated cost for detaining the individuals, which has been calculated using a 2022 figure of the daily cost per prisoner multiplied by the number of days spent in custody. Costs associated with a further individual amounts to £105.23. No costs are associated with the remaining 10 people.
Lewis Foster there with that report. 23 minutes past 5. How do you cope with cold water? Well, sea dippers in Ramsey say a growing community is formed since a shelter opened on the South Beach in January last year. The area now includes a sauna and a coffee van with local businesses offering support for swimmers. Members of the Northern Dippers group, Margaret, Lucy, Chrissy and Rita, have been speaking to Darren Timpson.
Get the full story. Tune in to Manx Radio's newscast for in-depth interviews behind the headlines. Find the newscast now at manxradio.com or your usual podcast provider.
It's like a little community down here now. I think it brings more people than just swimmers down, so there's sort of a bit of a beach vibe going on in Ramsey. You know, it's great having Mikey down with the sauna. You know, you can grab a cuppa, go in for a swim. And I think it encourages other people to have a go at swimming as well, or just, you know, go in the sauna, have a dip, see what it's like.
On a Sunday morning, I call it beach club. And in the summer especially, it's just fantastic. And people bring their fold-up deck chairs and go in the sea or not go in the sea, or go in the sauna or not, have a coffee, bring your own coffee. everybody's welcome, and it's just a really lovely community vibe.
I think for many years we were basically chained on the slipway. Yeah, we enjoyed it. I really appreciate all the hard work people have done to get it to here, because it doesn't help us, it helps the whole community.
And what are the benefits of dipping, swimming in the sea? Obviously, you do this in the summer as well, but it's probably a little bit easier in the summer when the weather's a bit warmer. But why do you do it in the winter as well?
For me, one of the I live with a condition called ME, and I have a lot of pain. And I find when I'm in the sea, especially when it's cold at this time of year, I'm not in pain when I'm in the sea. So that's one of the big benefits for me. I know a lot of people find a lot of benefits for their mental well-being as well. When you're in the sea, it's hard to be anywhere else, or for your head to be anywhere else, or you're concentrating on what's right in front of you in the present moment as well. And when you're with a community, and we have a rule that what's said in the sea stays in the sea. People chat and open up, and might be to strangers. So that's a real benefit for me anyhow.
Darren there speaking to some of the Northern Dippers group. Tell you what, the sauna sounds great. That's definitely up my street. I'll watch you go in the cold while I'm in there, I think. Anyway, I digress. Right, let's take a look at the latest sport now, brought to you by The Print Shed. And Darren's in the studio with us. Fastamai, what can you tell us?
Yeah, Fastamai, FC Alaman are taking on Euston Villa at the Bowl in the NWCFL Premier Division tomorrow night. The Ravens sit 19th in the league after 33 games played, whereas the Chorley side are 1 point above in 18th. The fixture sees the first time Matt Atherton's men will travel to the Isle of Man, with the only ever result between the two sides being a 3-3 draw in Chorley back in November. FC Alaman versus Euston Villa kicks off at 6 p.m, and Manx Radio will be providing full live match commentary. In women's football, the final of the Canada Life Floodlit Cup takes place tomorrow as Douglas Royal host Peel at the Bowl. Royals finished third in the group stage with 12 points and beat Onken 6-1 in the Final Four last weekend. Meanwhile, Peel finished top of the standings with 18 points and comfortably beat rivals Corinthians in the semi-finals. Sunday's final kicks off at 2:45 p.m. On the men's side, the second round of the ECAP FA Cup takes place on Saturday with 16 teams involved. Among the ties are Canada Life Premier League leaders Corinthians taking on Arden and Drogheda Division 2 playoff hopefuls Castletown. Division 2 leaders Colby face Union Mills, while Peel host Pulrose United and St Mary's play Douglas Royal at the Bowl, which takes place at 1:45 p.m. The other 7 of the 8 fixtures kick off at 2 p.m. In rugby, the first round of the Hartford Homes Manx Cup is set to take place. Southern Nomads take on Vagabonds at Ballakillia Park at 2 p.m. Elsewhere, Douglas are back at home after 3 games on the road as they face Birkenhead Park in the Regional 2 Northwest. And Vagabonds ladies will take on Crewe and Nantwich in a Women's NC2 North-South, which will kick off at 1:30 p.m. And there's a return to Hockey League action in the men's and ladies divisions after last weekend's cup competitions. The Ladies Premier League sees Valkaizé looking to extend their lead at the top as they face Bakazé at KWC. In the men's Premier League, Bakazé will look to stretch their points lead to 8 points with the win over Valkaizé.
Good reminder, thank you very much for that, Darren. Well, that is it for Update this evening. Ben Cunningham is up next for Friday Sports. Chris Kinley with Greatest Hits after that. The Kane brothers are up from 9 o'clock with Jumping In. And then last but not least, Rhian Evans is taking you through till tomorrow with After Hours. Have a good weekend. Don't do anything I wouldn't. Beth is back with you from Monday. So until next time, take care. Bye-bye for now.